Let's get some work done today.
Open up, you open up. Bitch, you want baby Emma. We should be closer than friends.
Not you worthy of the glory and the honor. Hallelujah, say.
Hey guys, giving you a little purple lip today. Sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. So today I wanted to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich documentary on Netflix. I have been planning to talk about this since I watched this documentary a little less than a week ago. The thing is, I was trying to gather my thoughts, and I had a lot of harsh realities that I had to come to with myself and for myself before I could talk about this. So, to be clear, I in no way condone, am okay with, am comfortable with human trafficking in any way, shape, or form, regardless of circumstance. There is no excuse. There is no human being on this earth who deserves to be treated as if they are something that can be bartered, especially without choosing that for themselves. And it is never okay to manipulate children. That being said, let's talk about this documentary. So, prior to watching the documentary, I knew he liked little girls, I knew he killed himself in prison, and I knew he was rich. I also knew he was friends with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Oprah. And while I didn't know what he did as a career, I understood that whatever it was, it got him a lot of money and it made him somebody that people wanted to be around. What I learned from this documentary is that he was a bachelor, single, claimed to eventually be in a relationship with a woman whose name I can't pronounce. She's a dirtbag. I'm sorry. I don't care to know her name. And he had multiple estates and living quarters. He had a legal residence in the Virgin Islands, and he had a residence in the city, New York City. I live in Jersey, so when I say the city, I'm talking about New York. In the city, he had a place in Palm Springs, I believe, down in Florida, West Palm Beach, whatever. He had a place down by the beach, and as the story began to unfold, there were no surprises. I was not surprised by anything that was shared throughout this documentary. I'm not gonna spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, because everything we know is it was in the news. Everything, pretty much the whole story was in the news, and so it just depended on what part of the news you were paying attention to, if you caught on to, what he was doing or whatever. So, immediately in episode 1, I struggled to empathize with the girls. The way that it was portrayed, it was like, oh, these were young teen girls who were trying to make a quick buck. Now, if that's true, that may be what kind of deterred me from fully empathizing with these girls. Because at the age of 13, 12, 16, I knew right from wrong. I knew if my friend said, let's go to this guy's house and give him a massage, and he'll pay us. I'm probably not going. Probably gonna say no. Don't care how much money. Don't care. Answer's probably no, because at that age, first of all, I didn't really start feeling attracted to anyone until I got to, like, you know, like older teen years. Like, I really wasn't interested in being in a relationship. I enjoyed having friends. I enjoyed being social. I enjoyed going to church and doing activities at church and activities after school and things like that. But I really wasn't interested in being in a relationship. I may have, like, had crushes, but I wasn't really interested in being in a relationship. I was all set. So that wouldn't have ever been on my radar, like, oh, let's go give this guy a massage and he'll give us money. You know what? I'm not gonna go, and if you're gonna go, just be careful, because that sounds really shady. That would have been my response. I was a prude as a kid. I was a prude. I mean, drugs, underage drinking, hanging out with people who were a bad influence. I wasn't here for it. I would tell you real quick that you're hanging out with the wrong people and that I didn't want to be a part of it, and I would definitely separate myself from that person. That's just who I was at that time. I don't apologize for it, because God made me perfect in his image. So we live and we learn, and of course I'm not that prude anymore. However, I do have my boundaries, my limitations, and I do expect them to be respected. And so at that age, I would not have done what these girls did, so I have a hard time empathizing with them. That being said, I don't have a hard time empathizing with what they went through. I have a hard time empathizing with how it started. My friend told me to come talk to this guy and give him a massage, and if I give him a massage, he'll give me $200. No, I'm not going. That wouldn't have been a hard no for me. I mean, like, you get what I'm saying. It would have been a hard pass. It wouldn't have been hard for me to say no. So off the bat, it was difficult for me to empathize with these girls. But as I watched, I did begin to empathize with them. I'm laughing because I'm looking at how I tried to spell that lady's name, who I don't know. But I remember from watching the documentary that that's not how you spell it, so it made me laugh. Anywho, so in episode 2 they talk about how Maxwell, can't really pronounce the lady's first name, but the Maxwell chick convinces this 16-year-old girl to pull up to Epstein's estate, right? And so this becomes a pattern. She kind of is the person who, and we've seen this a million times on Law and Order SVU. You know, there's a perpetrator, and then there's his assistant. There's the lady or the person who goes out, gets the girls, brings them back to the rich person's place so that the rich person is never seen out in search of said girls, right? We've seen it. So this is not unusual. So because it wasn't unusual, I just kind of was like, all right, let's move this thing along. Up until this point, I'm just like, okay, you're not giving me any new information. This is all stuff that I knew. I may not have known the lady Maxwell's name, but I knew she existed, because you can't have money and power and not have somebody doing your dirty work for you. So I knew she existed, and up until this point, I was just like, okay, this is getting boring. And it doesn't need to be 4 episodes. I still believe to this day it never needed to be 4 episodes. Summarize what happened and then talk about the more important thing, which is where the women are now, how they are coping with what happened, how they are gonna seek closure in a sticky situation. Those are the kinds of things that I would have been, you know, interested to see, not what we already know about him being a pervert. So anyway, one thing I want to point out from episode 2 is James Patterson. He goes ahead and he asks one of the most important questions. How was Jeffrey able to acquire a teaching position in New York City in the late 60s, early 70s with no degree and less than 2 years college experience. Never graduated. Became a teacher. That would not go down in today's society without some money or like a private school situation or something like that. Like, you can't even teach at a charter school over here without a degree and a certificate and a license to teach. And in most states, you can't even teach without a master's degree. He has 2 years of undergrad. What is he teaching? So you just gave him all this access to all these little girls, and you didn't even have to. So I think that when James Patterson said that, it was important to bring that to people's attention, because I don't think people were thinking about that. They weren't going that far back into this man's history. They're thinking about the girls who are young now, who were at the time, you know, like of the case that opened up or whatever. Another thing I didn't know was that there was an original case in Florida, and it basically got, you know, thrown out or whatever. I apologize for the noise. Hopefully there's less of it. I closed my window. I try. So, unfortunately, this was not nipped in the bud, you know, years prior to when the second case came up, because Florida didn't take him seriously enough. And, you know, he had money. He had invested his money into the city and the state in Florida, and so they just kind of let him be. And I think that is absolutely positively wrong of them. They should not have done that. Terrible. Okay, so another thing that upset me about the school situation, about the teaching situation, is that his white privilege afforded him that job. So the fact that he had 2 years of undergrad experience, no degree, a little bit of money, a lot of bit of whiteness, and a little bit of manness, I guess that's what gave him the ability to teach in that system. It also opened up the door for him to, you know, really be a criminal to these children, because now he had access. So anywho, I think what frustrated me most about that is that his white privilege gave him an opportunity in the school system. He said he knew that you know, they wouldn't hire him, and because of his honesty, that's why they hired him. That never would have. Imagine my black female behind coming into your office. You're the principal. You're interviewing me, and I go, I know you're probably not going to hire me, but I decided to challenge myself and come in here and do this interview anyway. And I just, you know, I wanted you to know up front that that's how I see things. You hiring me? You're not. You're not. You're not. So I apologize for the noise in the background. Not only are they mowing outside all of a sudden since I started recording, but here comes the train. We just never time it right. He was brought to court under the unlawful sex with a minor in July 2006, and the case was redirected. Had he been convicted or even prosecuted in 2006, there's a whole slew of women who would have never been victimized after that. So we dropped the ball, didn't we? We did. I be trying to be patient with the system, but the system is broken, buddy. Broken. So FBI steps in, right? They find more victims. Beyond that, the only other thing that I would say was just like, why are we here? Watching these politicians and important people in leadership and in this country and in other countries, the Duke of York, this stupid Acosta, Secretary of Labor dummy, Trump's dumb Trump, the Clintons, watching these people fully deny any experiences where they saw or they knew or they could tell that this man was so sick and he was disgusting and an animal. They all deny being around him during any of these times. The prince, this man, this is like the third time that I've said this to somebody about this documentary. He probably made me the most upset throughout the whole thing, because the poor girl, she has a picture of them standing together. She has her arm around him. He's got his arm around her. He looks like he's having a real good time. And to this day, if you ask him if he ever met her, he says he doesn't recall meeting her. And on the night in question, he was at a pizza shop with his daughter. There's a whole picture of y'all together that night. Like, there's a whole picture. So that really grinds my gears that we're sticking to that. Another thing that grinds my gears is Bill Clinton claiming to have never been in the presence of these girls. And the victim, she was saying, he was there, but he didn't do anything. And she's like, I wish he would just say he was there, because at least then you guys would know I'm not crazy. And I agree with her, and I understand her frustration. I could relate to that, and I could empathize with that, because it's just like, if you're so innocent, if you didn't do anything, why would it be so bad for you to say, that you were there? I understand, he has that whole Monica Lewinsky thing, and it's just bad timing or whatever. But at the same time, it's trash. Like, it's garbage. Basura. Like, throw the whole thing out. The whole situation made me angry. I felt heartbroken for them that they did not get closure because he killed himself before they could address him in court. I thought that was very cowardly of this man. Also very suspicious. Always thought the death was suspicious. Don't know if he paid people off to escape. Don't know if he paid people off to pretend he was dead. Don't know if any of that happened, or if he's just really dead and he just couldn't face going to prison for the rest of his life, so he just decided to off himself. Can't say, wasn't there. However, I can say that it sucks for the victims because they can't address him, and I feel for them on that. Final thing that just blew me about this documentary was Acosta. I'm not going to go into too much detail about everything that he did and what he said, and how what he said in the beginning and what he said in the end didn't match. All I'm going to say is that I don't like inconsistent people. If you're going to be the hero, be the hero. And if you are going to be the villain, be the villain, be the jerk. If you're going to be the jerk, don't be the jerk that then turns into the finger pointer, that then turns into, oh, I always said that, he was going to go down for this, whatever. Shut up. Plain and simple. Shut up. So if I had to rate this documentary, I would probably give it a 2.5 out of 5. Because, number one, it was too long. Number two, it was boring for most of the time. Number three, they were giving us information we already had. What it did do was it taught me a few things that I didn't already know. And that last episode when they talk about where the girls are now and how the girls came together and, their different ways of coping with the fact that they were never able to have any closure on this situation, that was enlightening, but it was also kind of uplifting to see, because it lets you know that there's life after this. Whatever your this is, there's life after this. And so I enjoyed watching them move on, even though they were bummed about not getting that closure. So, like I said, 2.5 out of 5 stars. Sorry. Would I recommend you watch this? No, don't watch it. It's not worth your time. I just told you everything that happened and you've seen it on the news. Don't watch it. If you're going to watch it, watch the last episode. and that won't be a waste of time. You'll learn something and you'll get to see something uplifting. Other than that, that's it. I have nothing else to say. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around with your girl. Let me know if there's something specific that you want me to watch and rate and discuss with you. In the meantime, in between time, I am watching History 101 currently on Netflix, and I'm going to, I haven't decided if I'm going to review it or if it's going to be in my top 5 for Netflix. Once I finish it, I'll make that decision, and then we'll see where we go from there. That's how we get down, baby. That's what we do. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.